I'm Katie Ray Smith, and my research is on the role of neuroscience in mental health management within the ADHD population. My faculty mentor and my friend, Dr. C.K. Miller, is an economist who teaches at University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Her passion for education surrounding class and labor issues makes Dr. Miller an amazing resource for this project. As well as a PhD in economics, she has a higher education teaching degree, and my research project combines concepts of pedagogy with educational accessibility tactics grounded in neuroscience. Let's dive in. Misinformation about how the brain is wired has dire consequences for the neurodiverse individuals who rely on self-regulation to effectively navigate society. The lack of educational materials about the physiological mechanisms of the brain, which are at the center of mental health, has led to a dearth of neurological literacy and widely held false beliefs about the brain known as neuromyths. Through neuroscience, the interdisciplinary study of the biology and psychology of the brain in relation to behavior, cognition, and perception, we can combat ignorance with information, dispelling outdated assumptions with scientifically sound data. My research hypothesis was this: can neuroscience education, which provides an accurate understanding of how the ADHD mind is wired, serve as a user's manual, a supplemental treatment that affords this community agency over their own cognitive management, thereby improving mental health and well-being? Can we replace internalized stigma with cognitive tools that enable them to effectively hone their strengths and manage hindrances in order to better navigate a predominantly neurotypical world? My research began at PSU, aided by professors Dr. Bill Greiser and Jeff Leake, the founders of Northwest Noggin, a nonprofit outreach organization that teaches neuroscience curricula via art and communal engagement in predominantly low-income school districts around Oregon and Southern Washington. They make complex scientific material accessible by incorporating artistic methods of teaching that are designed for maximum comprehensibility across a wide range of people. I've been working with them since January of 2023, participating in presentations and Q&As with students ranging in age from preschool through high school, developing artistic learning tools. We make art projects with neuroscience underpinning to help participants understand and internalize the material. There are multiple hands-on activities such as holding a real brain, making brain cell gel prints, or building various models of neurons out of pipe cleaners, including the Neuron Hat, a project I designed, which my service animal Rhodey is modeling in this picture. One of the most effective aspects of Northwest Noggin's approach is the creation of social networks through which the material is not only presented, but perpetuated by educators and improved upon through ongoing observation and exploration. Northwest Noggin forms relationships with partnering organizations, bringing invaluable resources, including many local artists, tradespeople, musicians, and scientific minds as volunteers to demonstrate the vast utilization of neuroscience in all walks of life. Art is a powerful teaching tool because it has the unique ability to engage multiple parts of the brain for greater recall and deeper understanding. Emotional salience is an intrinsic part of how we store and recall our experiences. Memory requires attention, engagement with subject matter, and a narrative to tie new information into. The stronger the feeling during a learning experience, the faster and more vivid our recall tends to be. Because of the extreme neuroplasticity of the mind during youth and the time it takes for full hippocampal development, which is responsible for impulse control, memories from youth become the foundational framework for the rest of our lives. The ADHD community not only contends with the physiological differences in mental wiring, but also the social ramifications of being labeled as deficient and disordered, along with a slew of other undesirable traits that have been arbitrarily assigned them by society. Low income, racial and ethnic minorities, and otherwise marginalized communities are hit the hardest by healthcare disparity. A positive correlation exists between inaccurate diagnosis of ADHD within racial and ethnic minority communities, the attribution of adverse behaviors to ADHD while failing to take environmental factors into account is a systemic issue, one that neuroscience education alleviates through informing not only individuals, but educators, practitioners, social workers, and family members about the biology of neurodiversity to improve accurate diagnosis and effective regulation of ADHD. My research shows socioeconomic issues such as negative stereotypes and economic disparity adversely affect mental health. Antisocial or problematic behaviors exhibited under duress are often conflated with symptoms of ADHD without regard for the contribution of environmental stressors. My research shows that a lack of agency, whether due to internal or external factors, can cause or exacerbate pre existing depression and anxiety due to uncontrollable variables. In addition to general social biases, specific intercultural stigmatizations present further barriers to diagnosis, treatment, and resources for understanding and managing ADHD. Programming like Northwest Noggin can potentially supplement the lack of resources in marginalized communities, affording participants and educators the opportunity to better understand the mind and body by asking the questions that they want to know. Their research is ongoing and is updated regularly on their website, which hosts Noggin Bloggin, wherein PSU students present their own research and volunteer experiences. Northwest Noggin has served more than 54,000 students and continues to build connections in the Pacific Northwest and beyond. In my research, I examined the most common methods for managing ADHD comorbid depression and anxiety. Although pharmaceutical intervention is the most prevalent type of treatment prescribed by practitioners, behavioral therapies such as CBT and DBT are often prescribed supplementally along with psychostimulants. Less prevalent is the use of group therapies, which can include family, anonymous congregates, or peers in some capacity. Although studies on these groups are few and far between, they have the highest self-reported satisfaction rates and the lowest dropout rates. It is also the only treatment I've found that offers framework for racial and ethnic and disability-specific support systems. Mindfulness and meditation are prevalent practices for managing depression and anxiety, though there's a lack of research regarding the efficacy of applying these practices specifically to the management of ADHD comorbidities. While I unearthed various dissertations and proposals for increasing neuroscience education, during my research, I found very little quantitative research has been done as to the effectiveness of this type of intervention in direct relationship to the management of ADHD. However, since 2015, Northwest Noggin has invited participants and educators to fill out surveys to gauge levels of efficacy, satisfaction, and engagement with the neuroscience learning experience, which, as you can see, has been overwhelmingly positive. Because we are complex, multidimensional creatures, a multitude of factors affect our mental health and well-being. Sociological factors are an intrinsic part of life and therefore must be taken into account when diagnosing and treating ADHD and psychosocial comorbidities. Biological knowledge combats misinformation. Neuroscience literacy can inform recognition, diagnosis, and management of ADHD for individuals as well as the social support systems they're a part of. There is a positive correlation between stigma surrounding ADHD and persistent mental health degradation in individuals with a diagnosis that can be alleviated through neuroscience literacy, changing the narrative to incorporate and accurately reflect scientific advancement. Environmental factors that affect behavior and mental health must be taken into account for diagnosing and treating ADHD and comorbid mental health conditions in order to ensure accurate pathological assessments and diagnoses, enable effective self-regulation and mental health management, and offset disparities in access to diagnosis, treatment, and reliable health care. I'd like to thank my amazing McNair team at Portland State, Dr. Faleava for always advocating for us, and Phoebe and Motu for all of your encouragement and responsiveness to my thousands of questions and constant emails. You're amazing. Big shout out to my mentor, Dr. C.K. Miller, for all the support, resource sharing, and expertise, and keeping me going and focused when my brain wants to spiral. Ongoing thanks to Dr. Bill Greiser, Professor Jeff Leake, and Dr. Danessa Lockwood over at OHSU for taking me under your wing and giving me the opportunity to work with Northwest Noggin. And to my amazing McNair cohort, thank you all for being awesome and fighting for our place in academia. Thank you very much.